Professor Chiyo Wakabayashi is with us. Let's welcome her. Some of us discuss this together and decide. We'll let you do the presentation first, and then she will give her presentation. Okay? That's the decision. Yeah. And then we'll open for discussion. It's basically supplementing a lot of information. So, please be, how should I say, constrain your time within 10 minutes.
Sorry, I have a proposal. Can we take away the presentation today? And at the end of presentation, let's just open up the ground, and if anyone has questions, anyone want to talk about, and let's just raise your hand. Is that possible?
You mean cancel the presentation?
Yeah. Because we didn't. But I think it's very crucial to hear what's been happening in Korea and in Okinawa. And I think people will have doubt, questions, and then we can just respond to it.
I'll trade you with this. Alright? We'll ask Chiyo to give her presentation first. But I'll still ask each group if you have questions to raise.
Okay. Yeah. That's fine.
So you still have to, otherwise, we don't know what's happening. Okay. So Chiyo, is that okay? We ask you to, they want to hear your presentation first. Okay. Chiyo, while you prepare, Chiyo teaches in University of Okinawa, right? Okinawa University. Her special field is actually contemporary Okinawa history, East Asia and international contact and so on. Chiyo is very at the center in Okinawa, organizing intellectual and political work, and also a very important member of Modern Asian Thought Project. So, yes.
Thank you for inviting me to this international Inter-Asia summer school. And I'm sorry that I arrived late. I should have been here yesterday. But Super Typhoon Noburi arrived the island, so I missed one day. And thank you very much for waking me. And I'm so pleased to have this opportunity to share time with you. Today I'd like to speak under the title Daily Practice for the Age of Wisdom, Reading Peknak Strong. As Kwan Shin introduced me kindly, I am not expert nor a student of Korean studies. So I don't think I have enough ability to show the whole picture of Dr. Peck's work. I think it's already Ji-woon talked in early afternoon. So I think I'd like to, as a student of international studies, as a student of East Asian history, and as a student of contemporary Okinawan history, I'd like to attempt to offer some points how I read Dr. Baek-Nak-cheon, and I hope this would be part of help for you to understand Dr. Baek's work and efforts. Today I'd like to, my presentation contains 3 parts. First, introduction to Baek-Nak-cheon to Japan. So how these Korean intellectuals' efforts introduced to Japan is the first part. And the second part, I'd like to speak about my personal experience reading Baek-Nak-cheon as an international studies student since 1980s. And the third part, I'd like to comment. I would like to try to show you some points how I read the essay, which is one of the reading assignments for this summer school, overcoming division system and daily practice. So let's start first part. Try to in an hour or so. Okay. About the introduction, Baek-Nak-cheon to Japan. This is a list of books published in Japan, translated into Japanese. It's 8 books from 1980s to 2012. You can see 8 books, and you can see, I can say, Baek-Nak-cheon is one of the Asian intellectuals whose works are translated into Japanese, many. Usually European thinkers like Foucault, Derrida, or even Edward Said, every writing translated into Japanese. You see, most of the Asian scholars or students really, love to read the European American origin works, including Edward Said or Spivak or those. But Baek-Nak-cheon is a Korean intellectual based in Seoul, Korea. And in Japan, this is very rare case. Like Dr. Baek-Nak-cheon, most of his writings are translated into Japanese. And when he writes an essay in Korean, and maybe 3 months or 6 months later, translated into Japanese and published. So he's one of the famous Korean intellectuals in the Japanese society. And 8 books. And we can see 6 books from 1980s to 90s. This is the time of democratization period. And then 2000s. This is after President Kim Il-jung elected and democratization government started. So there's 2 periods. One is the democratization period, and then after Kim Il-jung period. And why this is the background. I'd like to point out 3 points about the background of the translation of Dr. Baek-Nak-cheon's work into Japanese in 1970s and 2000s. 3 major points. The first one is a new focus on Third World literature in 1970s, 80s in Japan. And the second one, Japan and Korea solidarity during the democratization period. Actually, it's after 1965, Japan-Korea Basic Treaty. And the third point is new focus on Korea. This is after Kim Dae-jung after Kim Dae-jung regime started. And now I would like to explain about the new focus on Third World literature in the 1970s. In 1970s, after the end of Vietnam War, there appeared a new focus on Third World literature in Japan. There is a name of translation. The name of writers and works here. Before this is a list of the major novels which were translated in that period. And these are mostly from Palestine, Ghassan Kanafani, Returning to Haifa. Anyone who read this novel? None? Nobody? Okay. Very well. How about the Darwish, Muhammad Darwish poems? These are Palestinian writers. And how about the one Jumin? Two, three, less than 10. How about Mohtar Lubis, Indonesia? Okay. Rose with no end. Senor Jose, Pretenders, Filipinos. No? Hi, I can hear you. How about Miachu, Broken Night? Singaporean writer. This is about Singapore under Japanese occupation. Chen Lin-jen, Mountain Road, Christian Chandal, Visual Express, and Anantatur. Oh, many. And this is South Africa. Masisi Kunene. Pakistani Faizal Mafai. Many. Chinua Achebe. So many. Mugiwa Tiongo. Oh, I see. Many more. These novels are from Asia, Africa, and Latin America is in a different context, like Marcasha Marquez. Anyway, these are the new focus in Japan. I say the world literature in Japan has been imported from West or European or American countries. And those literature, they are very famous writers in their own countries, in their own society. But these are maybe, for example, Mohtar Lubis, Road with No End, written in 1950s, or Miao Shu, also 1950s. But these are never introduced in Japan until 1970s. This is after the Vietnam War. This is the impact of Vietnam War, actually. People look the different eyes to Asia, and the AALA organization, Asia, Africa, Latin American Solidarity. This is a group organized by writers, poet critiques. They organize in Japan too, and they join the international conference, writer conference or workshops. and they learned Third World literature and brought it back to Japan and translated and introduced those literature. This is very important moment for Japanese readers to know the societies in the Asia, Africa, Asian, African, third world societies. I mean, not from the surface, but deep inside the emotions or their descent or what they like or what they when people are happy or when people are sad, when people are angry or when people are so descent. You know, such emotions are difficult to understand, you know, sometimes for Japanese. Japan is kind of completely and incompletely first world, completely third world, and incompletely third world. How can I say? So it's very hard to recognize themselves, how to find their own attitude in the world, how to find their position, recognize themselves in the world. So these literature are so, you see, many readers just, you know, want to see other world, you know, just curious. But those novels created some path for young Japanese to reach out those third world countries. And the second context is Japan-Korea solidarity. This is this action, this movement, these activities are activated after 1965. Japan ROK Basic Treaty. This treaty was very a big issue because this is, of course, this is a new dimension after 1945 to reconnect Korea and Japan, but only half of the Korean Peninsula, South Korea, and also this is treaty has a program of war responsibilities or restoration of such programs. And some students, young people, those people who are interested in Asia, get interested in Korean history and Korean society, and some people start some Japan-Korea solidarity movements, especially support relief for political prisoners, Japan-born Koreans, like Sosun said, or so many Korean students born in Japan studied in Korea, and then under the Park Chung-hee regime, some are arrested and became political prisoners. So in Japan, they organized some relief actions, support political prisoners, especially Japan-born Koreans. I think Ikigami-san's such action when he was doing. And also Kim Dae-jung incident or Gwangju massacre, so those are big impact to Japan in society. So intellectuals and students or novelists, writers, they organize support movements, support actions for Korean movement for democracy. I don't know, how can I say, support. So I just put support. But support means kind of, it's not not equal relations. It's a slightly victimized Korean people, or slightly looks down, sounds like, or so I just put this. But anyway, new communication or new connection started in this period. And in that actions, also translation from Korean literature started. See, anthology of modern Korean literature, Kim Ji-ha, Declaration Conscious, or Park Noe, Koun, those are poets. And famous writer in Korea, Wang So-kyung, Strange Land, translated. Have you ever read Strange Land? No? No one? How about Kim Ji-ha? Poet? And Kim Nam-ju, Night of Farmer. He's reading, this is the prince with his poems and prints. And also introduction, not to two, introduction modern theater to Japan. Modern theater, the traditional and innovated during the democratization period. And modern is people's theater introduced to Japan. Now also, in these actions, some students start studying Korean history, focusing on Japanese colonialism and imperialism. And some students became academics, like Kajimura Hideki or Miyada Setsuko sensei. And some are organized civic study circles, like a translation or reading history or studying Korean languages. So this Japan-Korea Solidarity Movement is support. It's still kind of program, but they create a new path, communication between South Korea and Japan. This is 2000, so I just go talk really briefly. We focused in 1990, democratization and after. This is especially Kim Dae-jung government, after Kim Dae-jung government, and 2000 South-North Summit, and 2002 Japan-North Korea Declaration. But this is still in complicated way. But anyway, this after democratization period, there are many Korean style in popular culture boosting in Japan. So it's Hangyu, we call it Hangyu. So it's kind of different from the 1970s, 80s, but more close, more people study Korean, most people study Korean culture and reading literature also. And Dr. Baek Nak-chon's works have translated in those periods. Because he has a whole picture, like history, movements, literature, cultural movements. So when people want to know the whole picture, what's going on in Korea, his works is very important path to reach out what's happening in Korea and to understand. So I think he introduced in Japan as a literary critic first, and historian, and then political activists or intellectuals. So first he was introduced as a literary critic. And who translated his works? This is Koreans in Japan. How many people know about Koreans in Japan history, backgrounds, context? No? Well, maybe I know. Okay. Koreans in Japan is very important part of Japanese society. When we think of East Asia, not only East Asia, world, when we think of world. And most of the Text Sensei's works are translated by Koreans in Japan. And most of them are born in Japan, so we call it Nisei, second generation. So they never be to Korea. They never lived in Korea. They born in Japan and grown up. And sometimes some people grown with the name of Japanese. I was grown up in communities really close to Korean families. But my friends, when I was little, Japanese name. So the real best friend are Korean, but I don't know her or his real name. We met each other with Japanese name, so we can't know each other in the real attitudes. It's a very difficult thing. But anyway, those translators are born in Japan and grown up. And so they grown up, they have a pressure in daily life. The majority of Japanese society sometimes. But those Koreans also have divisions inside the Korean communities. Some families come before 1945, under colonialism and imperialism, and they create Korean communities in Japan. And then after the liberation and during the Korean War period, some people came to Japan as refugees, and they escaped from military war or military occupation. So they combine and they have a big community. But when their home country divided, their families are divided too inside Korean communities in Japan. So so brother is more pro-North activist, or younger brother is part of they got passport from Republic of Korea, or such kind of divisions inside the family. So they are very difficult with Japanese society and inside the Korean community regarding homeland vision. So they are searching for the way to understand nation in new way, or some better way. So they start reading John and start translating and introducing it into Japan, in Japanese society. They don't know homeland. They never been sometimes reaching out homeland in distress. They very suffered in under the military government in South Korea sometimes, and overcoming division in daily lives in their communities. So they found Baeknakchon is something to see. How do you say? まともに見る just look things as it is. Okay? And so they are translator, but just they not just translator, but they are subjective. They do subjective active reading. So it's real very important. Dr. Beck have very important translators, and these books are it's really good for most of Japanese. I believe we have such books through the Koreans living in Japan. It is very important, but not many Japanese recognize its importance. But I believe this is very important, and they share wisdom living in Korea with the readers in Japan. And also, this is more important, they show us critical point of view on Japan's position in Asia and world. So it's kind of complicated, but Dr. Baeknakchon is important, itself important, and at the same time, translators are so important for Japan society. And this, now I would like to move to my own experience about meeting Baeknakchon, because I encountered the works of Baeknakchon in the class of such Korean living in Japan Korean professor living in Japan, and also Japanese professor later. But so I'd like to introduce some to you how I read, how I encounter work. I hope it will help you to understand and reach out different thoughts in Asia. So I was a student of international studies, so I encountered Beck's work in the class of Introduction to International Relations, not the literature, international relations class. And my professor picked up Dr. Beck's work under the topic of rethinking culture in international relations. Rethinking culture in international relations, not rethinking international relations of culture or from culture. No. We rethink culture in international relations. So he picked up several literary critiques for discussion. And one of the reading assignments is Dr. Beck's essay on Third World literature. And he started a discussion, but he started discussion with Takeuchi Yoshimi's essay about modernity. I think Takeuchi's name is already popular here. Is it difficult? I think it's difficult. Takeuchi. A very strange guy. Don't you think? go big head. And it's really strong man and very inspiring. I don't know how do you think it's inspiring or not, but inspiring for me, especially as a Japanese. He uses Dr. Beck's Third World literature to understand Takeuchi's writing, especially his works, Coloniality of Literature. This is not about Korean literature, this is about Japan, coloniality in Japan. I think Takeuchi's discussion already repeated in this class. Maybe, I'm sorry, but I repeated it, but anyway. Takeuchi discusses limits of Japanese imagination or modernity. He said in early 20th century, Japan imports European literature as world literature and created literature so-called world literature or bundan or such things. And it forms, it creates illusion in which the Japanese think themselves as a part of Western civilization or European culture, modernity. But 1930s, in the era of aggression and international isolation, it suddenly has national literature discourse in Japan. But this is not like Dr. Peck's one, but this is more ethnocentric, self-centered national literature discourse. And this is all against Japan state against Europe. So there's Japan and Europe, only Japan and Europe. There's no Asia. Japan and Europe. Japan and world is always Japan and West. No Asia, no third world, no Africa, no nothing. So this Takeuchi criticized this pre-war national literature, and he after Japan defeated, national literature discourse re-emerged in different direction, and it is kind of sea change. The same thing, but different. Sea change. You know Shakespeare, Tempest, sea change. So he recreated the national literature in a different direction. And so under occupation by the and the outbreak of Korean War, in that period, Takeuchi started his national literature discussion for Japan, for Japan's true independence. So, and Takeuchi criticized that Japan's world literature hadn't been mediated by national literature. I mean, Japan's world was not mediated by nation. Understand? Individual and world, and between nothing. Just direct. Is a how I can say? So Takeuchi criticized Japan's world literature. There's not mediated by national literature. That's what that means. He called coloniality of literature. Just illusion. World literature, the West. or national literature as a singularity of Japan. So world literature for Japan supposed to be mediated by national literature. For me, it is very difficult to understand coloniality in literature at that time. Then he referenced to Korean experience, and then he introduced Peg Nakchon's discussion about national literature. How the Korean novelists and critics discuss regarding overcoming their coloniality of literature. Then, colonizer is Japanese. So their world literature in Korea influenced by Japanese world literature before war. That means there is not mediated by national literature. There are no national literature actually in Korea. So Dr. Peg Nakchon or the poem Kohun, such writers after the liberation to democratization period, they discuss what is national literature as a means to overcome coloniality, or after division, after divided nation. All those discussions, he introduced such Korean experience to think about coloniality of literature, of Takeuchi. This is very difficult discussion anyway, but I think it's already Ji-woon introduced the national literature discussion to you. So I don't go further about Korean literature, but so my professor uses Peg's discussion to reconsider Takeuchi's national literature, reference the Korean experience to understand Japanese experience. And so he uses Peg Nakchon's criticism, the lack of focus of third world literature in Japan. That's what I introduced before. So he introduced Peg's essay on third world literature and quoted what Peg Nakchon said. Introducing the third world literature to Japan is like the would-be people's significant moment. この場合は would be Japanese people's significant moments to reflect their position deeply from the bottom. So and it would help for Japanese people to get out the ignorance of self-hollowing. Nothing. Takeuchi is nothing. To get out of nothing. So this is very important moment for me. So, but it's I hope you can catch from my explanation. But most of the Japanese categorize themselves as a first world people. So it's a first world, recognized as first world, but it's not incompletely first world. So such a state of mind or psychological state is coloniality of literature that was which Takeuchi said. This is a very important encounter for me. This is, I think it's just comparative literature or comparative culture studies. I think you thinking is it just a comparison or just a reference? But as a Japanese student in the 80s, it was a very important moment for me. How to take part in the world. So I started interested in the third world. What is a third world? So I quoted Karen's words. Still, this word is very difficult for me, not to fit in. But since then, third world is a very important word. Since this encounter. So, Dr. Peknak-John is very important for me since then. I'd like to skip in details, if you would like to know details about I don't have much time now, so I would like to move to the third part, division system and daily practice. Maybe this is an assignment and you've read. Have you ever read? Really? Yeah, I agree. How do you like it? Is it dull? Boring? Boring. Difficult. I see. Difficult has many meanings. So that's difficult. And lots of things together. Thick. Yeah, I think so too. Now I would like to point several points. How I interest. How can I say? I will offer several points which I thought interesting. But before that, this essay. Actually, this essay was selected both Jiwoon and me, and we contact with Shin. So very general and very good essay to know his division system discourse. And this is a Korean brief history, modern, just chronicle things. This paper was written just before IMF crisis and Kim Il-jung regime starts. This was written in 1997. So after the Cold War, after the democratization, and before IMF crisis. So this essay is kind of before Kim Il-jung or before June 15 declaration means his division system discourse have kind of tension, especially this 2000 June 15 declaration means North-South summit. So it's a big change of division system. So a few years before this declaration, and before Kim Dae-jung regime starts, so it has an extension, very many things together. And sorry, I don't need this. I think you already read this, so just briefly. He mentioned three dimensions of division system. One inside each state, and North-South division system, and international and world system. And these three dimensions, and each society have many different sectors and groups. Both states have a different balances. So high degree equation in each system. And the neighboring powers like US, China, Japan, Russia. Now these countries contain six-party talks, but before six-party talk, and each country have a different equation. So it's very difficult to think all these elements together. But he tried in this essay. And it's very interesting is a division system, and he uses world system. I heard that world system is a topic for your questions and discussion. How is the world system discussion is the topic, right? I understand that there's many discussions this world system, but I really feel so important is use this world system and his explanation about this division system and the world system, to importance to connect the world system and division system, or to create these ideas between two states and international level. I pick up this part from his essays, page 7 to 8. The most important thing is two Korean society neither of two Korean societies can be a self-complete system. So state discussion is already Ji-woon offered. So I don't want to repeat. And this incomplete system. Why these two? So he said he creates a category of division system to connect the Korean Peninsula to the world system. But this is not just world system discussion, but this is a more historical discussion. I'd like to move further. How do you think about his his essay, the world system? But I want you to understand his most important and his most absolute principle to write this kind of division system discourse is to avoid war. Whenever I read his essay, I feel always he is a person, like always he started discussion from the point of the worst. What is the worst thing? The war. I feel his intention to avoid war. So he always starts discussion from the worst. I think, of course, this is from his personal history. He's born in the north, and he came to Seoul. I think it's before war, but his family divided in the system, and he has a divided family. He's from divided family. Of course, his own personal family experience are important. But he thinks his own family's experience, not only the personal thing, but nationwide history, the common thing. So I feel, I don't know how, I never talk about this kind of thing with Dr. Beck, but I feel always he started the worst. Started from the worst. This discussion from start the worst. And I pick up from page 13 to 14 about, he wrote about the war. Of course, the possibility should not be exaggerated, but neither should we overlook the fact that argument dismisses any possibility of war. Or there will be, and I pick up this part is the most important thing. War is more likely when one side is overwhelmingly more powerful than the other, or when the weaker side is expected to weaken further as time goes by, than when the two adversaries have almost the same level of force. This part is a short, not long one, but I see this. This is about, he is talking about the Korean War. I don't know how many people know the history of the Korean War, how the war started, or I don't know how people think about it. But this is very important part of this paragraph. And he said the two Koreans both are not complete, self-complete system, but he said. It is from this has history, so I hope, I really want you to understand that his discussion from the legacy of the Korean War I don't know how many people knows the history of the Korean War, but this is not the North and South, the war between North and South, but this is a war created in the legacy of Japanese colonialism, and also policy of U.S. military government, and also both sides power struggle inside Korea, and so many different elements created this war. But what he said, this point, two sides have not sometimes become or created by like powers like the United States or Soviet or China. Some people, sometimes a weaker side created, or sometimes another level of different level of force created. But this is the process. This is he talking about the process of the Korean War. I don't think I have much time to details about the legacy of the Korean War in his writings, but I'm interested in his how he grasps the history in today's politics. And also I'm interested in his description about self-reproduction of the division system. This is also related to this Korean War, divided nation. So I think it's important to see contemporary history of Korea in his writings. Not, of course, world system discussion is important, but I want you to understand the contemporary history. Each his phrase, each his words have his historical meanings. And also, I'm interested in the self-reproduction of division system. He talked about division system itself, but also he talked about self-reproduction process. And self-reproduction between two Koreas, both sides, but also he pointed out many levels of self-reproduction, even inside movements like labor force or women or environment movements. So he draw many different levels of self-reproduction of division system. And I'm so interested in his critique, how he criticized self-reproduction inside the movements. For example, like this. Page 5, at the paragraph from begin with at the same time. Any one-sided and superficial observation implied by phrases like confrontation between two Koreans, the legacy of the Cold War, imperialist domination of the world will not be sufficient for the adequate grasp of that process. Or in Okinawa, sometimes the same things happen. So it's really very interesting. I'm interested in his phrase, in his observation on the movements, the issues, problems inside the movement. How do you think? I don't know. His self-reproduction of the division system, his his perspective on this is very important in this essay, I think. And in that self-reproduction of division system concept, I think his daily practice, or recently he used civic participation, but daily practice is so his daily practice includes such the means to avoid such not the daily practice, daily movements in everyday life. Not that simple. I mean, his daily practice means not like movements, like every day people sit in front of the military base gate or such a daily practice. Of course, it's a daily practice, but the meaning of his daily practice is to avoid such self-reproduction of division system. If we say daily practice in sociological meaning, it's just sitting protest or demonstration or strikes or everyday the movements in everyday life or such just forms. But his daily practice is to avoid such division system and the reproduction of division system, to avoid self-reproduction of division system. I think it's a very important critical point of view towards the movement. I think this is not in this essay, but this is also important point. He uses in other essays like daily practice or civic participation movements moves unhurriedly and steadily and gradually, not by force. He uses such words often. I don't know why he uses such kind of things, but of course this is in the context of Korean movement, the hurriedly or radically is the opposite words, I think. But in Japan or in Okinawa, this is really, we understand it. It's not to create sacrifice. Whenever the movement confronts very difficult situation, and many radical radical people start something, or even it's not just radicals, they do sometimes radical actions. Like a person set a fire in Shinjuku early this month. Or in Okinawa, sometimes hurried or radical actions some people would like to do sometimes. But if we want to win, sometimes radicals, if it's right, correct, but it is wrong sometimes. So his idea unhurriedly, steadily, gradually. These words are not easy words. It's from very difficult situations in Korea, and not by force. Or he created, he said, third party, or civic participation, solidarity, whatever, daily practice, is not to create sacrifice to common goal. So it's very interesting person, and when I invited him last year in Okinawa, people are so impressed with his articles on his speech. Not because his division system discussion are good or smart or something, or his connection, one society to world systems. It's not the point. The point was such he's really realistic for people, ordinary people. How can I say? Sorry, my poor English. So, reading Peknak John in Okinawa, I just would like to introduce. Okinawa's military bases and Korea's division are so related. The Korean War is a moment for the United States to forge the keystone of the Pacific, the US bases in Okinawa as nuclear base. And after the Korean War, base development accelerated. It's very strange sometimes. After the war, the base development more accelerated during the Eisenhower presidential period, during the Eisenhower period. The Korean War base development accelerated because Eisenhower created nuclear bases around the world. So it's more bases, and many land was taken by US military. So Korea's division, Korean War, is very related to military base. So people are so interesting. Anyone from Korea and how they think, so interesting. And most of the Okinawan people think overcoming the division system in Korea as an integral part of overcoming militarization in Okinawa. So related, as well as cross-strait relations. So very, people are so interested in. So when I introduced Peknak Chong in Okinawa, people really want to know how he thinks about this, how about think of military base Okinawa. Well, it's a basic thing. And then people, through his discussion division system, people reconsider the Japan-US security system. Japan-US security system oppressed the Okinawan society, but we can analyze this system in different way, referring division system discussion by Peknak Chong. So we are talking such things often recently. And also, people are interested in daily practice for contributing to the world's history. How we can create daily practice for contributing to the world's history. So, short-term task is maybe very difficult. Confronting Japanese defense force or American military is very tough things. So people need more different understanding of their own practice. So we can learn from Dr. Beck's discussion.
Sorry. I'm mortified.
So in this essay, I have been interested in 2 points about his thinking to avoid war, his idea, how he think of contemporary history of Korea and East Asia, and also self-introduction of division system. That's a point I'm interested in. So I hope you, after you read, how do you think about his writings? I'd like to know your comments of this essay, and I'd like to learn from your readings. And to conclude, I would like to offer, this is my favorite, his phrase, reject living in illusion and concurrently say yes to life in this stage, devoting oneself and value to it. Reject and say yes at the same time. This is a question I gave you. I think you already know this morning, self-reproduction of the division system in context of daily practice. How do you think? How you imagine? That's my question.
Maybe I'll tell you a secret. I think this is the first time Chio presenting material in